half an hour or so, 40 minutes, and give you the big picture, give you a little bit of the vision, where we are, or where we've been, where we are, and most importantly, where we're going. And I think that way you can then take your own personal vision, what you want to create, what would be ideal for your business, for your life, for your lifestyle, your goals, your dreams, aspirations, and then fit that into the big corporate vision where the company is going. And really that's what it was for me 23 years ago. I'm 50 now. I know Bob said I'm 30, and thanks, Bob. But 50. I started this industry at age 27 on a Saturday morning, December 1989. We have a family business here in Toronto, and my family is in the hardware and building supply business. We've had that business since 1970. I was 8 years old when we came from England. My father purchased a hardware store. We're the last of the family hardware stores, right? Because there was the family hardware store, then there was the home hardware, and now there's the Home Depot. So we're the last of that. But 40 years old, it's a pretty big business today. There's 40-something employees. It's a huge business, but it's hard labor, right? I mean, it's hard labor. It's glass locks and doing repairs and maintenance in 90-degree weather, humidity, and 30 below zero in the winter. It's just not ideal, really. So I left the family business in my mid-20s and got into car restoration with my brother. And that was a fun business. My brother still has that business, collectible cars. And but it was there was a very tiny little market for that business, right? If you're into collectible cars, how many people are into that? It's a tiny little segment. So really creating wealth and creating lifestyle, time freedom, and residual income is not going to happen when you're speaking to 1/10 of 1/100% of the entire marketplace in one city. And so I didn't really realize that, because when we started that business, we had this dream it was going to be huge and big. And turns out not everybody wants a muscle car from 1969. So what happened was December 1989, I read an ad in the newspaper, a newspaper called the Employment News. And I read this ad and didn't know what it was. I thought it was going for a job offer, because it said they were looking for 5 people to market a product. And there was international relocation and a car bonus and all this stuff. And call Mr. So-and-so. So I called this guy. And a week later I got an interview on the phone. And after the interview I ended up at a network marketing meeting, one of these meetings. Had no idea what it was. First of all, by the way, is everybody here, if you know about network marketing, been involved, or just basically know of it, if you could please raise your hand. Okay, is there anybody that has no clue what networking is? Okay, so we're all informed people. Well, I was uninformed, because 23 years ago, about half the hands would go up and go, I don't really know anything about this. I heard something, but I don't know. So I went to this meeting, Saturday morning. A person did the presentation in front of the room, not too dissimilar to this one, except we didn't have a laptop and a projector. They had the plastic acetates, So, and then later we had the little Kodak slide projector. So now we've got, this thing, the PowerPoint. But, what I saw at that meeting was the concept of leverage. The concept being that instead of getting paid on 40 hours of work at the hardware store or in the car business, I could be paid on 40 hours a day or 100 hours a day or 1,000 hours a day of productivity, because others are consuming a product and introducing others to the product. And I got that. I got the concept that absolutely, of course it would be better to have thousands of people that are generating an income based on the collective success of a lot of people. And I got involved in this industry based on that. I was full-time that Saturday morning, December 1989, and I've spent 9 years on the corporate side as a VP of sales in network marketing, and I've spent the rest of the time on the field. I've been a company owner. Zija came along in the summer of 2007. I was the VP of sales for a company marketing a coffee product. Anybody ever heard of Gano XL or Gano Coffee? Mm-hmm. I was the VP of sales and marketing for that company, and we did very well there. But there was a lot of corporate problems. There was a lot of the company structure had its issues. And so it was time to make a move, and that's actually where I had met Bob and some other people. And I said, I need to find another company, but I need to find a company that I'm going to build for the last time, that I'm going to pass on to my kids, and they're going to be able to have a good shot at passing it to their kids, my grandkids. I want a company like that. I want to be involved in an Herbalife, an Amway, a New Skin, like a big company that's going to be around for 20, 30 years, and the income's going to come in every week forever. That's what I want. How many of you want a company like that?
Oh, yes.
Okay. And so I looked around the industry, and I chose Zija International because Ken Brailsford has built two such companies. He built Nature Sunshine in the early 70s, and he built Enrich International in 1985. Those two companies are still in business today. So combined, over 60 years. Enrich, of course, was sold, the name has changed, but the products remain, and many of the customers remain. And from those two companies, there's about 5 or 6 other major companies that also evolved, right? And half of the direct sales industry in the state of Utah can trace their roots back to Ken's original companies. Wow. So one company created another, right? Where did Microsoft come from? Where did Bill Gates originally work? Anybody know?
IBM.
IBM, right?
Mm-hmm.
So from IBM, right, they didn't see the vision that he had, he created Microsoft. Mm-hmm. And so many companies were created like that in direct sales, in nutrition, as a result of Ken. And so I said, that's where I'm going to get involved. And so I joined in October of 2007 in this company. I looked at it in the summer. I joined in October. I went to the first convention. There were 10 of us there. The company had been in business a year before I came. And so there was still about 300 other people 400 other people at that convention. 400 people at the convention, and 10 people that I had. We were in Dallas. And so there were the 10 of us, and then everybody else. And we had this vision amongst our group. And what happened was Zija, just kind of the line here. Okay. This is sort of a company launched in November of 2006. I joined in October of 2007. Zija was basically roughly a $400,000 a month company. So in other words, from all of the collective purchases of the product, the company was doing about $400,000 a month. That's not a lot. Basically what that means is there's 1 or 2 people that are making any significant money. Nobody else is making anything, right? Or not a lot. And for some reason, the company was kind of stuck there all the way to 2009. We never really grew. There was no growth. And so a lot of people came and left during this time. And this is around November of 2009, so not the beginning. So for the first 3 years, now, see, I can talk about this openly now because we're past that. In those days, I said it a little bit differently because we had to make this look good. Mm-hmm. And it was really hard to make no sales look good. So what we were saying is it's just the beginning. We're just getting started for 3 years. But when someone's not making money for 3 years, that's not good. So that's what it looked like. And then in 2010, okay, 2010, we got traction. We started to grow. I mean, big time. It just, everything was right. The weight loss came in. We had the binary, we had some marketing, we had some other components that came together, and the company started to grow. And so 2010, 11, and 12, and we are now in 2013 right here. We've gone from 400,000 a month, okay, and from say 450,000 a month, 2009, 2010, to now 40 months later, to roughly 13.5 million a month.
Wow.
Okay, which is significant growth, but it's not, we're not even at the top of the runway yet. Okay, the foundation has now been laid. And so you can see about that. But in 40 months, that's where we have gone. That's the kind of growth. That kind of growth has created 3 people in Zija now that are over $1 million a year in my group. Forget about what my income is. I want to talk about what the income is of the people below me. There are 3 people in that category. And I know that's not for everybody, but it is a representation of how many other people are having success, because they can't have that success without success on their team. So I like to break it down. What that basically means is the number 2, number 3 earner, they make roughly $100 every 5 minutes, whether they're working or not. Even, you know, it's just every 5, if you do the math, that's about $100 every 5. That's a lot of money. And it's based on thousands and thousands of people purchasing $100 a month in product and consuming $100 a month in product. I mean, that's it. That's our business. That's our business model. And let me add, since I'm being recorded here, that is not the average, and the people will earn what they earn based on their effort. These are the top people in the company. And then there's everything in between. There are people who make part-time income. There are people, you know, out of 160,000, 170,000 people that are on the team, over 100,000 of them are making nothing. Do you know why? Because 100,000 plus of them are just customers. Now, how many people would like to have 100,000 customers below you buying product, right? Even if they're not business building, that's where most of the income is coming from, right? Everybody on the automatic reorder using the product because they love the product. And that is the nature of our business. And so we are here now. We are right here in terms of the company growth. We've gone past this. We are now more or less past this stage here, and we are moving into this stage, okay? So 2013, 14, 15, and 2016, this is what Zija looks like, okay? Why does it look like this? Very simple. The company is now expanding into a number of countries. You talked about Africa. I know they were talking about Nigeria and some other stuff, but I guess we have Africa. I did an Asian trip 2 months ago. Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Japan. We've been open in Japan for a few years. There's 18,000, 20,000 people there now in Japan. But all the Asian countries are opening. We don't have a single... I don't see anybody Mandarin Cantonese here. Not one. Do you know how big that market is? Right here in Toronto, you could build a dynasty without ever leaving Markham. Stay in Markham, and you could go to the whole world, right? Go to the whole world. Taiwan, Hong Kong, all those countries are opening over these next several years. And so you take this current market, you add these other markets which are now in process to be opened, and we are here at a great time. There's no question. It was a great time over here. I can tell you from a standpoint of where my business is at and where my income is at, it's all wonderful. But a lot of the people who joined me in 2007, in October, almost every one of them quit. Almost every one of them quit. Why? Because it was hard during those days. It was hard. I mean, we would do meetings. There'd be 5 people at the meeting, and none of them were guests. It was like, it was tough in those days. And it was tough all the way through. And I survived it. I had a lot of help and support from the company to survive when most people just didn't survive. There's a few left, but they came and they went. The thing is that when people came and left, they came and left 5 people and then left. They left 5 people behind. And then those 5 quit and they left 20 behind. And so now, today, it's very different. You see, it used to take people, I mean, 3 years ago, in 2009, the highest position in the company was diamond. That's all we had, because there were only like 2 diamonds in the company 3 years ago.
Crazy.
Now diamond is like, people are doing it in 2 months. I mean, most people don't, okay? But it is possible to do it faster now. It was impossible before. It just didn't happen before. We didn't have the momentum. We didn't have the success. So there's a lot of great things in terms of timing. Bob touched on it briefly. And we need to understand that having financial success in this business there's 2 or 3 components that are important. You need a great product, but could you become successful with an inferior product? Let's just cover that for a moment. Yes or no?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
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 Okay. Anybody ever eaten at McDonald's? Anybody? Yeah. Who's been to McDonald's at least once? Raise your hand. Come on, it's okay. Everybody, right? And I think we would all agree that McDonald's is a successful franchise. Because of the quality of the product? No. Right? The system, the marketing. Right? So, no, you don't necessarily need a great product. But if you have a great product and a great system, now you have everything.
Zija.
Right? Yeah. So we have everything. Okay? So we have world-class products. Great, because that will sustain the longevity of the customer. How many people still eat at McDonald's on a regular basis? Okay, so not so many. Not as many as before, right? So what happens over time is it's hard to maintain customers if you don't have a great product. So one, we've got the product. We have the management infrastructure with experience. We have compensation. We have system. And not necessarily most importantly, but importantly, we have timing. And so the timing now is where the company will start to expand rapidly. 80%, and I think the number might be as high as 85%, but certainly 80% of all the top people in the company are first-time networkers. And that's an important statistic to know, that brand new people without prior experience have become successful. So the company has been built organically with grassroots people. Okay, forget about me and my history and my background. It's not a good measuring stick for the average person. The good measuring stick is what new people have done. Okay, but now people with experience are looking at this company and saying, look at the success they're having, look at who they've had success with, what can I do? What can I do here? And so that's where we are today in Zija. That's where you are if you've just joined. Now it just so happens, for those of you that are in Ontario /Toronto, this is where I live. So we do events here. I do whatever I can to promote and support the group additionally, in some cases more so than can be done on a national basis. Mind you, the other leaders support their groups appropriately, but there are things that we can do here. Toronto is a big market. As we all know, it's the 4th largest city in North America, the Golden Horseshoe. There's 10 million people. It is the gateway to the entire world. So we have every representation from every country, every culture, every demographic. And so from Toronto, we can go global. I've worked my business from home. I do 90% of it from home. And doing the conference calls, some home presentations, we've done a few at the house, and events here, the business has now grown all over the world, 99% of which I have no connection to. I mean, I've met the people, they know me, I don't know them, saw them at convention maybe, but most of the people that are joining I have no idea. There's about 7,000 to 8,000 people joining per month. Which is, significant, and so with the attrition, we still end up with about 5,000 or 6,000 net. So that's a lot of growth. Okay. Now, that is some people think it's momentum, but not really. It's nice growth. Momentum will be probably the fall or the first quarter of next year. I'm thinking probably the first quarter of next year will start. And that's when we'll start moving towards 15,000 to 20,000 people a month joining worldwide, right? Losing maybe 3,000 or 4,000 or 5,000, but netting 15,000. When you bring in 15,000 new people a month into the group, do the math, right? 15,000 people a month at $100 a month auto ship is what?
150,000.
It's a lot.
1.5 million.
Right. So you're growing by 1.5 million a month. That starts to compound. That's when we'll move towards, as Bob said, $500 million. Right? The next 18 to 24 months, we should be there. Is it possible to be sooner? Absolutely. But that's actually soon enough. That's a lot of growth. The company will have to double the number of employees. They'll go from 300 employees to probably closer to 500 employees. Our group will go from 170,000 people to 300,000 people. So if it's taken from November of 2006 when the company launched to today, which is roughly, what, 7 years? Or 6 years? 6.5 years? To have 170,000 people, that's a purge number, so they get rid of the people that are not ordering for 1 year. So that's people that have ordered within the year. And you double that. You double that. In 18 to 24 months, everybody's going to feel that. Who's working? Now the beautiful thing is, and I want you to get, for those of you that are business builders, just get the timing aspect for you. Those of you, how many people here have a goal to create a secondary or primary residual income here?
Yes.
Okay, so everybody. So if your goal is to create a secondary or primary income, these are things to know. Know this, that out of the 160, 170,000 people in the computer, there's only 10 or 15,000 people that are really focused on building the business. That means out of the 170, don't worry about it, because 85% of the people in the computer are not engaged in the growth of the company. They're engaged because they love the product. So we have no competition for that growth. Right? In other words, here's the total pie that's available for everybody. Do you want to share this pie with 170,000 people that all want a piece? Or do you want to share the pie with 15,000 people, of which 5,000 are really serious? Right?
Very true.
out of the 5,000 that are really serious, there's 1,000 that are absolutely committed, right? I mean committed. Okay, they will sacrifice most everything to achieve their goal. Mm-hmm. Everything else is secondary, except for, you know, family and the creative. Everything else is secondary. So put the golf clubs away. We're, you know, not worried about the vacation or watching a hockey game, whatever. I'm focused on building. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we got about 1,000 of those. Out of that 1,000, there's 100 that are absolutely obsessed. Okay, they sleep, breathe, eat, sleep. You know the saying, right? Zija. And that group's hard to compete with. You know, Bob's one of those types. I'm one of those types.
Me too.
Right? And outright, and Popo, right? Outright workaholic, just, you know, got to do what's got to be done. And, yeah, leaders that achieve 50,000 a month, 100,000 a month, that type of money, absolutely you're going to have to do something that the average person will not do. Like drive from Ottawa 5 hours, like drive from North Bay 4.5 hours, right?
And I'm driving to Windsor.
Okay, I got people that live in Mississauga that couldn't make it today, right? Because you know it's just too out of their way. But North Bay, no problem.
And Dave, 2 o'clock this morning, Popo was on the phone. 2:30 this morning, I was on the phone with Popo. He was still getting his week finished up. Still drove here from Ottawa this morning.
Well,
and I'm driving to Windsor tomorrow. Yeah.
And so the point that I'm making is for those of you that are new here today, understand that if this is the new growth in the company, so this is the next $150 million in growth, the number of people that you're competing with to capture this growth is tiny in the overall picture. So don't, you know, people go, oh, there's so many people involved. There's no one involved. They're all customers. Okay? Now, when you come to the event on the 15th at Dixon Road, okay, there's going to be 300 people there. What you're going to see are the core leaders of the Ontario market loading the room with all the new people that will be contributing to this growth. This growth will be happening all over the world. How many people know people in other countries? Raise your hand. Everybody. Okay? You can grow your business wherever Zija is doing business. I would strongly recommend you stay focused in this market until you have a base and then expand. But that's it. So understand from a pure vision and timing standpoint, we are at a unique place. The hard work's been done. The company's now got everything in place, manufacturing, a wide range of product, lots of success. There's more success stories than we have time to talk about, both from a product standpoint and from a business standpoint. There's no shortage of different people to ask for a testimonial. There are professionals with great testimonials, and there are people that are brand new in this industry with great testimonials. Brand new people in the industry that have achieved success. And success does not have to be, you know, a six-figure monthly income. Success can be an extra. For most people, how many people here know people who would have a complete life-changing experience if they had an extra $2,000 a month coming into the family household that was of a residual nature? Like an annuity. It shows up at your door every month. I mean, that's going to change everybody's life. And when you bring it down to $2,000, not $100,000 a month, then you can break that down and say that's $500 a week. That's $100 a day. What do I, working a 5-day week, what would I have to do to help another person have a little bit of success to create a $100 commission? And the answer, not much. When you break it right down to that, you don't have to do a lot to help another person to make $100 for yourself. Multiply that by a few other people, And at the end of the month, $2,000 is not a hard goal to reach, let alone $2,000 to $5,000. And when you hit $2,000 to $5,000 a month, you can then see 10. When you hit 10, the numbers expand. Then you go, okay, now I get 50. I get it, right? I see it. I know how to do it. But it does require commitment, and it requires following a system. It requires being consistent. It requires being persistent. It requires being able to discard people, like, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but you need to be able to go through people like used, let's call it tissue paper. I was going to say toilet paper, but we'll go tissue paper, right? Okay, you go through people quickly, so you can sift and sort. The ones that are either negative, skeptical, cynical, generally the ones that are broke, okay, are the ones in that, they're broke because they're in that mindset where they can't see the positive in most things, or in most cases, in everything. Sift and sort, find the people who want that goal, who need that goal, who still have the dreams, goals, and aspirations that they maybe once had, or reignite those in other people, and you will find your leaders. They will show up. All the leaders that have shown up in my business have come from, I mean, I didn't know you, Popel, 60 days ago. I didn't know who you were. You showed up, and now Ottawa's opening in my group. It's nice.
Yeah.
How many times have I come to Ottawa to help you build?
0.
0. Isn't that nice? Right? So this is going on everywhere. He's one of 1,000 examples. And so people will show up in your business in spite of you. He showed up not because of me. Maybe because I introduced some people a few years ago and everything happened and it came to Popel. But in the end, after you do the initial groundwork, the rest of it takes a life of its own. So just get the initial groundwork done. The rest of your business will grow organically once you've got a few good people. Just a few. You don't need a lot, you need a few. Or just one. One good one. One good one and everything will explode. Bob's going to teach more and Popel of the basic fundamentals of business building and following the system. I wanted to give you a little bit of the bigger picture, hopefully. Thank you for giving me a few minutes up here. Bob, always a pleasure. Congratulations once again. And thank you.